applying to pediatric dentistry can have its challenges and some things that are hard about the application process. Share with us what has been or what was the hardest part about this residency application process for you?
That's a great question. I think for me personally, the hardest part about applying to pediatric residency definitely was the waiting for me, being patient, whether it was waiting to apply, waiting to receive board scores to submit for the applications, waiting to hear back from match day, waiting to receive interviews. So the waiting part definitely was the hardest on my journey.
Pediatric dentistry, and the journey of becoming a pediatric dentist, where you're in a discipline that requires you to be creative, have patience, be flexible, but most importantly, be compassionate. Stay tuned as we talk to a D4 student who just matched in her #1 pediatric dentistry residency program on her way to becoming a board certified pediatric dentist. She's going to tell us how she did it. Stay tuned. Hey, this is Dr. Darwin, the new dentist coach, with another episode of Ask Dr. Darwin on the New Dentist Podcast Show, where we talk about getting into dental school, surviving dental school, getting into residency, becoming a board certified specialist, and then life as a new dentist. Guys, be sure that you are continuing to support this channel. We need your support, but other people need your support by sharing the content, by also commenting, by also joining and also subscribing to the channel. All right, so that we can continue to reach many people that you know and people that you don't even know that are watching and that are getting some valuable pointers and some help on their way of becoming a dentist. Also, be sure to stay all the way through. And this episode of Ask Dr. Darwin is being brought to you by getintodentalresidency.com. Right down here. Getintodentalresidency.com, the ultimate resource to help you prepare your application for residency, to help you prepare you for your interview and your rank list so that you're successful on match day. For more details, go to the link down below. All right. Special guest that we haven't seen in about 4 years. It's been since you got into dental school. Now you're moving through that and getting ready to go and become a board certified pediatric dentist. Today we're with student Dr. Marrisa Lee, and it's good to see you.
Likewise.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. I feel better now. I'm getting over. Feel great.
I bet. I'm good. Not as good as you, but I'm good. I'm glad to see how this progress over these last 4 years have gone for you and the success that you continue to have. But let's make sure that people know a little bit more about you, especially those that are meeting you for the first time. If you haven't seen the video, where is it at? From back 4 years ago about going to dental school for free. Check out that video too. But please introduce yourself for people who are meeting you for the first time.
Yeah, so again, I am Marrisa Lee. I am a 4th-year dental student at Marrisa Medical College, School of Dentistry. I am from Gainesville, Florida, which is the founding city of Gatorade, also the Sunshine State. I am the oldest of 5 children, and I'm the only girl. I pride myself on being a compassionate, culturally competent individual, someone who is able to connect with people from all backgrounds, especially every child that sits in my chair. So that's why.
Yeah, and there's going to be a lot of kids sitting in your chair in the next 4 or 5 months.
For sure.
How about that? Yeah. How about that? And again, congratulations. This is a big accomplishment. I know something that you've been eyeing since that first semester, D1 year. So let's jump into it. Again, make sure you guys are watching and stay all the way through. Do not want to miss what Dr. Lee's getting ready to share with us. So why pedo? What happened D1 year, that first semester, that prompted you to be like, hold up, that's it, pedo. That's my thing. I'm gonna be a pediatric dentist. Why pedo?
Man, I've answered that question so many times throughout the journey. But every time I hear that question, I get excited because I'm reminded that it's way bigger than me. Like you mentioned, coming into dental school, I hadn't decided on a specialty. I really was just my plan was to just go general. I am a non-traditional student, so I just wanted to get it done. But I've always connected with children in a special way. I come from a family of educators, so being with that, I've always been around children. I've been around the educational system. I've been around the aspect around children as far as like being a coach, a mentor in that regard. And when I got into dental school, like I said, I was so tunnel focused on just getting the mission completed. But I am a spiritual person. I do believe in God, a higher power, and I oftentimes received signs and confirmations, whether it was through people or just experiences, that pediatric dentistry is where I am supposed to be. And every time I tried to dismiss it or just go a different way, I was always realigned back to pediatric dentistry. So I stopped I stopped avoiding it, and I just embraced it. And once I embraced it, everything fell into place. Honestly, it was falling into place before I embraced it, but once I just fully embraced it and made it known that that's where my direction and the path that I was interested in taking, I excelled from there.
Yeah, that's an awesome story. And sometimes there are many different things that can guide us to ways and things that we don't even know what the outcome is going to be, but also we don't know why, right?
Right.
But there's always a good story. And I'm sure you share that with the admissions committee, both in your application and probably uh, on your interview day as well. So talking about the application, let's segue there, because that also is a process. And even though you knew D1 year that pedo was the pathway for you, I'm interested to learn how you prepared for your application. And did you start as early as D1 year? What did you do? How did you prepare?
Yeah. So as far as the application process go and my preparation, I'm naturally a leader. So coming in, I already knew that there were certain organizations and certain roles that had my eyes on, and was interested in being a part of. And I tell people all the time, I don't do anything that I don't want to do or that I'm not passionate about, because it shows. For me, it definitely will show if it's something that I don't want to do. But so for the application, D1 year at Meharry, we can't be as involved our D1 year, just because we're matriculating and we're getting our hold of things and how dental school flows and working out the kinks of dental school and the challenges of it. So, I started slow. I think my first year, I was the SNDA representative for my class. And then by the time my second year came around, within my first year, I also had, been elected president-elect. So I became the president of SNDA my second year. I've held positions. I've been the academic vice president of my class for the past 2 years. I've been active in the Meharry AAPD chapter. So since my first year as well, my second year, I was actually the Give Kids a Smile co-chair during my second year of dental school, which was a lot, a lot of responsibility being a second year student, trying to balance, didactic courses along with lab, preclinical courses and lab work and things like that. So as far as preparing, and then naturally, I serve. I'm always willing to serve the underserved, serve in any capacity that my gifts and talents are warranted. So I showed up for the community. I showed up for myself. I showed up for the school, and I was present when when I was needed the most, especially during the pandemic, because that's when, I started my dental school journey in the pandemic. So there was a lot of need for me to be able to serve. So I showed up in that capacity.
Showing up, right? And not just to be seen, but also to make an impact, or at least to contribute. All of which you'll be continuing to do as a board certified pediatric dentist, because the community needs you. There'll be some more Give Kids a Smile events that you definitely will be involved with. And then also being a leader, right? All ways that help you prepare your application for residency.
Hey, this is Dr. Darwin, your new dentist coach. Hey, look, it's residency time. It's residency application time. And the biggest question that a lot of people have is, how do I prepare my application? So look, if you're struggling in getting your information together, your CV, your personal statement, or you're ready but not prepared for your interviews, reach out to me ASAP, right? Through my group, Dental Residency Headquarters, we can help you. We can help you get ready for this residency cycle so that you're able to do this. We want you to match into residency cycle this year, all right? But you got some work to do. If you need some help with that application, shoot me an email at newdentistcoach@gmail.com, newdentistcoach@gmail.com. And through our program called Get Into Dental Residency, we can help you. We can help you, but you got to hurry up because residency application is right now. It's right now. So shoot me an email right now. All right, let's get back to this episode.
Now, I'm sure with that leadership and involvement, both within the school and external to the school, you had some connections and involvement with faculty members, because we all know that part of that application is letters of recommendation. So I guess that was probably a much easier part for you, maybe. How did you go about getting those letters of recommendation?
Yeah, so it was easy because being in leadership, you automatically are able to create relationships with people. But for me, I've always been intentional about creating organic and genuine relationships with mentors, friends, whatever it may be. But so I took that same mindset when I was establishing these relationships with the people that I requested the letters of recommendations from. So by the time it was, time to actually ask them, they already were ready. They
were asking you. They were
yeah,
asking you.
yeah. They knew. So it was effortless for me. Like, I showed up for them, so they showed up for me in a major way. And honestly, when I was on the interview trail, between my actual application and my letters of recommendation, that came up every single interview. Like, no matter where I went, people they would quote, because I waived my rights to see the letters, so I would often hear quotes of what the evaluators wrote on my behalf, and I was always just impressed and blown away, like, because how you show up for these people and the level of respect that you have for them, but to hear it from the other side, it really is heartwarming. So yeah.
Yeah, well, shout out to all the faculty members, all the individuals that wrote some very strong letters of recommendation. Shout out to them. We appreciate you, and continue to contribute and pour into the future of oral health here, more specifically pediatric dentistry. So shout out to all those faculty members and other dentists that did that as well. So part of this application, one thing that you have to do is you got to look at schools, you got to look at institutions, you got to look at programs. Tell us more about how you sifted through that process, because there are a lot of pedo programs. Those pedo programs can be found at dental schools. They can be found at hospitals. It can even be found in FQHCs, federally qualified health centers. So tell us the process that you use to look at schools, the number of schools that you had on your list, and why you picked those schools as well, or programs.
Absolutely. So for me, I went in knowing exactly what I wanted from a program. And honestly, once there's not a perfect program. So I was mindful of that. But for me, let's pause. Can we run that back? Okay, I'm
Yeah,
ready.
just keep talking. It's fine.
Okay, so yeah, so when I was researching programs, I knew number one, that I needed to cast a wide net. My net wasn't necessarily as wide as most people's. I only applied to 10 programs because I consider myself a strong applicant, and financially, just during that time, that was the most feasible for me. I applied mainly to hospital-based programs, but I did apply to hybrid programs because, like I said, I am a non-traditional student. I've been in school for more than half of my life, and I was, just ready to get it done, but finish the mission. Really, that's what I stick by. So just to finish the mission, applied to 10 schools, interviewed at 5 of those 10 programs, and I am from the South, so my favorite was, at least the East Coast. Like I applied to one West Coast school. The rest of those schools were on the East Coast. I also factored in salary. So salary benefits was something that I strongly considered, whether these programs, did they pay? How much did they pay? What was the cost of living in these areas? How far away are they from home? What's the weather like? So different things that you kind of don't think about, especially going into dental school, but now as preparing for residency, it was definitely something that was in the forefront of my mind.
Yeah, all good things that you have to consider because the different variables, right? Especially related to cost related to cost, especially costs when you have to come out of your pocket again after dental school and pay for the training versus being paid a stipend or PGY 1 or 2 year salary to learn, right? Big difference. And for many people, that is a factor as well. You mentioned interviews. Let's talk about them because you applied to 10 programs, got 5 interviews, which is awesome. And so where were those 5 places that schools or programs that you interviewed at? And also tell us a little bit more about the interview day, especially if there's something that was like strange, unique, different questions, environment that, that you remember that was a little bit different than what you may have thought it was going to be like.
Yeah, so 10 school, I applied to 10, interviewed at 5. The 5 schools that I interviewed at were UIC, so the University of Illinois at Chicago. I applied to Nicholas Children's Hospital in South Florida. I applied to, well, I interviewed at, I'm sorry, these are schools that I interviewed at. Interviewed at LSU, so in New Orleans, Louisiana State University, University of Florida in Gainesville, Florida, which is my hometown. And then I also interviewed at Case Western in Cleveland, Ohio.
All great programs, all great programs. Anything unusual about the interview day since you were at those five locations? Because I know, we're at a period of time now, at least this past in 2023, where there were some hybrid type of interview days where some programs are only still did virtual, and some went back and started doing some more impersonal. So outside of those differences, were there any particular questions you remember during the interview day that may have thrown you off or been like, that was different? I didn't think they're going to ask me that.
Yeah, so that happens a lot with pediatric dentistry. You do get some quirky questions, but it's fun stuff. It's stuff that that relaxes you. Most of my interviews are very conversational. I believe because my first interview was actually UIC. That was a larger interview, very laid back. Well, there were more candidates at the interview because they have more seats for residents there. But I think the weirdest question I'm not gonna say weird, but the most random question may have been someone asked me most of the wildest questions come from residents. For me, I was asked what was my favorite Disney movie. And then the interviewer proceeded to ask me to sing my favorite, a theme song from the playlist of the favorite movie. So stuff like that. And other than that, they were really just trying to get to know me. They already have who I am on paper. They know that I'm qualified, things of that nature. So they're really just trying to get to know me as a person, get a feel of my character, my personality, and stuff like that. Trying to think of another weird question. Oh, another question oftentimes would come up, like if I'm interviewing with other candidates, I was asked to pick candidates I could see as co-residents, like pick your future co-residents. That was a question that I was asked often. Yeah, I think those ones that stood out for me.
Now that one is I hadn't heard that one before. As far as pick your co-resident. So if you had to pick based on whoever else is interviewing today, who would you like? Which is a test. It's still a test, right? It's a test to see how you are interpreting your environment, things that you're picking up. And if you are actually doing a 180 or 270 around the room and taking in, like, are you present? Right? Are you present right now? That's what I would think of immediately, or at least what I'm thinking about now afterwards, that, all right, they're wanting to see more about me and making sure that I am present and observing my environment. Because guess what? As a pediatric dentist, you're going to need to be watching everything. The kids moving in, not moving, the dental assistant, the parent that's now coming from around your shoulder and coming over here. You got to be present with all of that, right? So that's an interesting one. The movies, the characters, typical for pedo as well. So you had those 5 interviews in different places. Chicago, you got Louisiana, you got Florida, 2 in Florida and 1 at Case, which is in Ohio. What were the things that really made a difference for you in helping you rank your programs? Because I think that's key, because that's also a step that you as a candidate have to, or that are completely in control of. You come up with your rank list. The program has theirs, you have yours. You can't necessarily always control theirs, but you can definitely control yours. So after going through all those interviews, what were the things about those programs that eventually made it such that you ranked whatever rank 1 through 5? Like, what helped you make those rankings after those interviews?
I love that question because on every interview, a question that I always ask the residents: do you feel happy? Are you valued? Do you feel valued? And most times, out of the programs that I interviewed at, the residents said yes. They had a yes, and they were elaborate as to why they felt that way. They admitted that the program, isn't perfect. Like I mentioned earlier, no program is perfect. But they felt happy and they felt valued at the programs. So a lot of it for me was observing how the faculty, how the residents, how they interact, how they treat each other, how they treat just the assistants, the housekeepers and stuff like that. So I'm always observant in that regard to see how the people interact, because that's the true story. People can try to mask, how things are really going. But I was able to be able to discern through the interactions of people, and also the way that they treated me, the way that they answered my questions with transparency, openness, and just being honest. LSU though, I'm not gonna lie, their hospitality was top tier. That Southern hospitality came all the way through. I was really impressed with them, as far as the way that they presented the program to the candidates. Definitely felt good energy there. I had good energy at all of the places, but they definitely went an extra mile for the candidates.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, they were probably trying to really recruit you down.
Yes.
Down south and a little bit to the west where you're from, Louisiana. Yeah, that hospitality. Well, and your point about how they made you feel and how they answered your questions. Ladies, gentlemen, ladies that are applying, listen, you have to ask questions. It's not just about them asking you questions and you answering them, but you've got to ask questions too. Very, very important. And if you don't know what questions to ask, we can help you make sure that you have a list of questions, because this goes into how you're going to rank your programs, right? And at the end of the day, the match typically and historically favors candidates more so than it favors programs. And that's a quote, and that's data specifically from the national match out of Canada. It favors the candidates, which means the candidates must be able to have enough discernment and figure out where they want to go. And the whole algorithm is somewhat skewed more so to candidates than it is to the program. So you got to have your questions ready to ask. So when you get your answer, that helps you make a better determination as to where you want to be based on the interview, because your rank list and your rank list could completely change after an interview. You may have University of Florida #1, but when you get there for the interview and for the conversation and you're getting feedback and you're providing answers and you're getting feedback from them, you may go from it being #1 to being #3. So that's why that interview day is an important day for you too, to make an assessment based on the programs that you eventually will have to rank as part of the process. But you're right, hospitality is always good, right? To get that feedback and to also feel that good energy, so that that it's genuine. It's not just for that day. They're not being nice because it's interview day, right? You can tell what the energy is like or not like. And that's important that you are making that assessment as well. So look, we have assessed based on the sweatshirt that you have on where you're going to be going. So let's talk about that, because we learned through social media and some text messages that you're going to be taking your talents to UIC, which is University of Illinois, Chicago, to be part of their, to join their Pediatric Dentistry Residency. So why UIC? What about UIC? And let's talk a little bit more about that program real quick. What about UIC that made it a favorite for you, but also most importantly, a little bit more details about the program that you're going to be going to?
Absolutely. So for me, UIC, as you mentioned earlier, you mentioned you interviewed one of my future co-residents who's also my classmate currently. Him and I actually interviewed together, and we actually went to residency together. There's also a 2020 grad, Dr. Taylor Jackson, who's there
That's
now.
right. That's
who's
right.
also
That's
a
right.
Maharian. And then the program director herself, she's a Maharian. And I had the privilege of meeting Dr. Brittany Hill, who is the program director at UIC, with Malik, ironically enough, at the AAPD conference, which is the annual Pediatric Dentistry Conference down in Orlando, Florida. The summer before I submitted my application, I met her. And, you know, like you mentioned earlier, the energy speaks for itself. The energy felt good during that time of meeting and exchanging with Dr. Bill, but also during my interview process at UIC, all of the faculty, just, you know, very open and warm and welcoming environment that they created for us. Even the Miss Jean, who coordinates who's the residency coordinator, you know, that like to me, everyone matters. Everyone matters in the way that they interact with me, the way that they receive me and that I'm received. It tells a story about, you know, not only them, but the program and how they're being treated. The residents, you know, they were very personable. A lot of these interviews, they have socials involved, right? So that's when they get to know the interviewers on a more personal level. And, you know, I'm pretty sure every faculty member and every resident during my interview at UIC made an intentional effort to have a conversation with me, even though that was already on my agenda to, you know, make myself visible to them and have conversations with, you know, future colleagues. So just the way that I felt invited and wanted, you know, people say all the time, go where you're wanted and needed. And that's the feeling that UIC just organically gave me throughout my time here.
That's awesome. And that's key. To go where you're needed and wanted, and that is displayed or that is shared or that is articulated, but also it's felt through that energy. That's cool. So UIC, now, how many residents do they take? And is it a stipend or you have to pay tuition? What's the deal?
So UIC actually is on the larger end of residents that they accept. They accept 10 residents per year. Yeah, that's a very high number. 10, so 10 residents. But honestly, when you think about it, it's a good thing though, because when you think about on call, you're not on call as often. That's something that you have to consider too when you're, you know, doing your research on these programs. How often are you on call? You know, what does that look like for you? Are you on call with the resident or a faculty? So they have 10 residents, and they accepted 10 this year. And
Stipend or is it tuition you have to pay?
so yeah, like like I said earlier too, I only applied to programs that offer stipends. I didn't apply to any tuition-based programs because like Dr. Darwin mentioned, dental school itself is already enough paying for it. And even though I went to school, dental school tuition free, I still have debt from undergrad. I have debt from graduate school. So those things, you know, I'm not trying to accumulate any more debt. So I've only applied to stipend-based programs, and UIC is on the higher end of the stipends that they offer. It's 62,000 a year, somewhere in that ballpark. And you know, everywhere you go now, the cost of living is expensive. So Chicago definitely is one of those cities that the cost of living is expensive. So it balances out, but you know, I'm still getting paid. I don't have to pay to go to be trained.
Hello. This will probably be the first and the last time where you will get paid to learn and to become an expert at that, right? To be board certified. You're going to get paid to learn. So always a good factor. And one of the factors in looking at the different schools and the programs and that whole factor of cost, or actually tuition versus stipend. Just real quick, shout out to Dr. Hill for doing some amazing things up there at UIC, and making sure that the pedo discipline is diversified and is able to address the needs of each of the different communities where these pedo residency programs are at. So shout out to Dr. Hill, Dr. Brittany Hill. Hope to meet her one day, get her on the podcast, maybe do a little program director perspective about pediatric dentistry as well. Also about the program, highlights for you about UIP. I know you mentioned the energy, the residents, the faculty, program director, residency coordinator, curriculum wise, and just how the culture is as well. What were some of the highlights for you that were must-haves and that you're actually going to now receive as a resident there? What are some of the highlights about the program you want to share?
Yeah, so as far as the highlights, for me, the curriculum definitely stands out. The UIC actually offers a master's in oral health. So, you know, regardless of how my story unfolds, I'll have a master's in public health that I had earned previously before dental school. And I also have a master's in oral health. So God forbid anything were to happen, I would have other credentials outside of my clinical expertise to fall back on as a safety net. So for me, that was something that was also discussed in the interviews by residents. They spoke of that aspect of it. So that was something that I strongly considered too, because you just never know. And so the curriculum is very competitive. And with pediatric dentistry, it's always changing, and just like the field of dentistry. But children are very delicate, so we have to be more intentional about our lifelong learning, and knowing that I'm going to an institution that is research-based, evidence-based, pediatric dentistry. You know, I take pride in that, and I'm grateful to be able to be one of the residents that are being privileged with that type of experience, because not every residency is equal.
Absolutely. They're different. They all have different strengths, and those, again, some of the reasons why you have to do a deeper dive into those programs as much as you can, given that there's not a lot of information sometimes on the website, and you have to connect with residents if you can, and also if you can, which you mentioned that you did, which is go to AAPD. If you don't know what AAPD is, then we're going to need you to go backwards and figure out again, are you sure you want to become a pediatric dentist? Because that's the language that you're going to need to speak as it relates to becoming a board certified pediatric dentist. AAPD. That's y'all's homework. All right. Figure that out. But the fact that you went there and you were able to meet program directors like Dr. Hill is also very helpful. So that's great. So this part here is going to be very helpful for a lot of people. And this is what I know you guys and gals have been waiting on. Tips, advice, knowing what you know now, and this process that you share with us that has started since D1 year, first semester. Knowing what you know now, what are some tips and advice that you would give to future or even current applicants who are aspiring to become board certified and do a pedo residency? What are the 4 or 5 things that they must do right now?
Yeah. So 4 or 5 tips. I have a lot, but I'll narrow it down for you.
We'll take them all. Let's go. Come on, let's go.
I say, I have this saying all the time, and one of the professors at Meharry actually planted this seed in me, and it's to thine own self be true. And to me, that's important. Be true to yourself. Know your core values. Know yourself. It's important to know yourself. Like I said, I don't do anything that I don't want to do, as far as putting myself in places and signing up for things that don't interest me. And pediatric dentistry is one of those things that you have to want to do it. Like, it's not for everybody. No matter who you talk to, whether it's a general dentist, any other specialist, they look at it as crazy, like, what are you doing? Why are you signing up for this? So, but kids are special. They're our future. And like I always say, for me, somebody told me to be the person you needed when you were younger. And a lot of times I see myself in so many of the young children and just being able to inspire them, and even, my future colleagues, as well as, underclassmen, being able to give you all advice. And because that's what somebody did for me. People pay it forward. So my advice would be to be true to yourself. Pay it forward when it's your time. Get involved early. It's okay if you didn't want to be a pediatric dentist when you were 7 years old. That's okay. Like I said earlier, also, I didn't accept this path for myself until later into my career. But I'm so blessed that I did, because this is my purpose. This is exactly what I've been designated to do. I am walking in my purpose, and I truly feel that way. And it's once you get to that space in your journey, you'll realize it too, and you'll embrace it. Stay organized. Keep track of everything, whether that's your service involvement, your leadership involvement. Don't wait until the last minute to keep a track record of your involvement from first year through fourth year or third year before you apply. Build genuine connections, not only with the faculty, but everybody. Because people, if you believe it or not, people talk. Like, they talk, people speak about you, whether it's good or bad. Show up yourself, check yourself a lot though. Check you, make sure your energy is correct, because people feel that. And for me, like, being a leader is natural. Connecting with children is natural. That's something that I just naturally do. So this is something that I'm just naturally walking into, because it's what's meant for me. And I tell my classmates who have also matched, we're 5 out of 5. So shout out to us, the class of 2024, for matching to our respective residencies. But what's meant for you is meant for you. No matter what happens, no matter what it may look like, no matter what challenges come up, what's for you is for you, regardless of the circumstances. And then I would leave you with, be your biggest advocate. Be your biggest advocate, because no one can advocate for you better than yourself. So be your biggest advocate, root for yourself, celebrate yourself, celebrate every win, no matter how big or small, because you deserve that. And this journey is a long one. So, and you've invested so far, so keep investing in yourself.
Some great tips. Great tips. If you all didn't catch all of them, rewind, push pause, and go back. Great tips. Coming from one of the Fantastic Five, and that's the nickname that I learned that they call themselves, because all 5 applied to Pedo and all 5 got in, and they've been working together collectively over these last year to make sure that they all are able to fulfill their dream in becoming a board certified or pediatric dentist. And they're going to do that because all 5 of them matched, right?
Yeah, that's something else too that I would add to as advice. For us at Meharry, the pediatric those of us who are interested in pediatric dentistry, we stuck together. And I didn't realize how invaluable that aspect of us sticking together and staying connected was until I went out and interviewed. I was on interviews with people who were classmates, and they didn't know that they would be interviewing at the same places. And to me, that was, I know from the beginning, we made a promise to each other that wouldn't be the case. But to actually go out and to interview at these different programs and actually see that happening, it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good, because not only do the other candidates see it, but also the residents realize it. The faculty who are interviewing, they realize that too. So I say all the time, people are angels for me. People are a blessing to me. And my classmates who I matched with, Malik at UIC and all of the others, wherever we're going, we stuck together. We were very, open and transparent about our experiences. And I wouldn't have, made it successfully throughout that journey without them.
Yeah, that's a blessing in itself. There's an African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go by yourself, do it alone. But if you want to go far, do it with a group of people. I have people on your team, and that includes the Fantastic Five. So, and plus, here's the other thing with Pedo. Yes, it's very competitive. A lot of people are applying, but guess what? There's enough spots for everybody, right? May not be enough spots for everybody at the same time, but there's still enough spots for everybody, whether it's this year or next cycle or the cycle after that, right? So, being part of that classmate group or group of classmates that are supporting one another, uplifting each other, helping one another get to the finish line is key. Like you said, be your biggest advocate. Check yourself and your energy. Another one, which was build genuine connections with all people, faculty, everyone. Staying organized and documenting your activities as you progress through the D4 up to the D4 year, getting involved early. And the first one, which is the one I like as well, one of the ones that are top ones for me, which is be true to yourself first and foremost, because guess what? When you go to sleep at night, it's you who you have to look at. It's you who you have to answer the questions that your mind and that is asking you. It's you. So you got to be true to yourself first and foremost, and not necessarily be caught up with wanting to be involved with what other people are doing. You got to stay centered in yourself and stay focused so that you can get this accomplishment, this goal, this task, this aspiration completed. And these 7 things have completed the tips and advice that you have shared, and it's awesome. What's the best way for people to get in contact with you if they have more questions and want to talk some more?
Yeah, so usually Instagram is the most accessible. I'm a hit or miss, I'm not gonna lie, through Instagram, but you can also email me. My Instagram is at Dr. Marrisa Lee. That's 2 R's, 1 S, and it's all together. Be patient with me. I'm in the last days just trying to get to the finish line. So if I don't respond immediately, I see you, I acknowledge you, I will get back to you. But I'm just trying to finish this mission right now. So if you can be understanding with that, I appreciate you. And I will give you, I'm an open book. If you go back and watch that first video that Dr. Darwin and I shared together, I'm the same person I was then as far as me being open and honest about my experiences. So whatever you have, just ask me, whatever it's in regards to pediatric residency, scholarships, I'm here for you. You can also reach me at my email address, which is lee.marrisa3@gmail.com. Again, that's lee.marrisa3@gmail.com. 2 R's, 1 S.
2 R's, 1 S. And yes, you are blessed, and we've been blessed over this period of time as you're sharing your journey and success. I'm rhyming today. I'm just flowing today.
Bars.
How about that? Coffee is a good thing, I guess. I'm just spitting dental bars today. No, but all seriously, this has been a pleasure. Getting a little chills right now, not because it's cold here in Jersey, but just getting some chills because this is like, I've seen the beginning. I remember that summer when you were starting. I remember hearing and meeting some of your classmates. I remember seeing some posts on the Instagram page for SNDA and for ASDA and your involvement. I remember just meeting one of your classmates not too long ago, one of the Fantastic Five, and other people that know you that are also part of the Meharry community as dental students. So this is a full circle moment, but it's also not the end. It's the beginning. It's the beginning of the next phase. So reach out to you. Hopefully people can reach out to you and they understand, like you said, if they can't get in contact with you immediately, because there's 97 days until graduation. 97 days until graduation. So that's top of mind and top of action right now. But she will get in contact with you before she leaves to go to a different climate than what she's used to. Not Florida anymore. Definitely, it's going to be a little bit different. But again, congratulations. So proud of you. So happy for you. And onward to bigger and better things up in Chicago and becoming a board certified pediatric dentist. And guys and gals, you can do it too. You can do it too. Real quick, got something we want you to do right now though, is go to the next video. Go to the next video right now. Go, 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 go.